Hello everyone. I did this Gerbera daisies for this week tutorial. So let's dive in and see how it ended like this. Okay, I look at this photos as reference photo. I picked the parts that I like. So these photos are just for inspiration. Okay, I'll have my composition. I just do outlines for the flowers, and I try to make one of them angled and one of them faced to us, and add more details later. And I really like the ways. I just suggest a shape of a vase. So you wet the paper first, and make it more wet because we want to do first layer wet and wet. So apply the first layer, which is the lightest color that we want to use for the flowers. And it's not just on flowers, you add it in background as well. And actually the water in the paper pushes the color around. And it's a good thing that's happening all around the wet paper. I apply the next color, which is cadmium red, and I'm not covering the yellow color underneath. Just to spread them a little bit. And sometimes you need add more water. The third color that I adding is indigo plus cobalt blue, but very thin in consistency. Which means more water, less color. So, okay, the same color, which is cadmium red, and I just added with tip of my brush, and actually this time the intensity is a little more, so it means less water and more color. And just try to shape the flower. So each time you can dry your brush because the paper is wet, and then add more color to the petals. For the center, I picked olive green and add a little burnt umber. And at the same time, I'm careful about the shape of the those stamen, the center of the Gerbera. It's a kind of negative painting. And as you know, around those stamen, there are lots of small petals. Try to make them in negative painting and also be careful about the shapes. We are not going to do same size or the same shapes. Try to have variety in the shapes and also in the size of those small petals around stamen. This color that I'm using here, it's alizarin crimson, so it's a little darker, and I need it for this part of the flower. And yeah, you can also do veins with the tip of the brush. And also with negative painting, you can have lighter petals. You can tilt the paper for having more access to the upper part of the flowers. And also this part, because it's the connecting part of two flowers, it should be darker. So I'm using alizarin crimson with more intensity. Let's accent the petals with adding more dark value somewhere. And also wings. You can wet partially and work on the wet part of your painting. Okay, the same thing happened here. Olive green and plus burnt umber. I'm just putting dots, but as you see, they are not the same. They are different in size and shapes. By negative painting, I just add the next layer of the petals. And the connecting part of two flowers should be darker, which is alizarin crimson, or whatever dark color you want to use. For this one, because I want to be peach color, I used these shades of color, cadmium red and alizarin crimson. But it's totally up to you. Whichever color you pick works. I'm not working on this one too much because it's out of my focal point. So it needs to be in, it shouldn't be in complete shape. So it doesn't need to be in detail. Just few suggestions. So I mixed indigo with a lot of paints, gray, and with a lot of water. Actually, I wet the part that I'm working on, and I add uh, olive green with more intensity, and I'm careful about the water line inside the vase. And of course, I need to apply the color of the flower inside because, as you know, we need to circulate colors all around the painting. Yeah, you can do lines, dots, and some kind of shapes to suggest leaves. And for this lines and dots, I just add darker value, which is hooker's green plus burnt umber. And by lifting up the water line inside the vase, you can have lighter part to show the border of the water inside the vase. And of course, you need to add more dark color in both sides of the line, of the water line. Still wet. Okay, let's start doing background with negative painting, meaning that you add more color into the background, but at the same time you need to be careful about the shapes of the flowers. And also a brush stroke to suggest the shape of vase. But you're not supposed to do it in detail, because the shape of the vase is just should be a suggestion. Still, you can lift up the pigment in borderline. I add a little more of flowers color to the background. And I just make it darker and darker. But at the same time, I'm careful about the shapes. Lines always are helping to have movement in the painting. The brush that I'm using now, it's dagger brush. It helps me to make negative petals better. Let's accent the petals by adding darker value. always you can add darker value for accent the lightest part of the flower. This color is alizarin crimson plus indigo. With the tip of the brush, I just suggest some veins, and also I'm trying to spread the dark color. I'm trying to wash this white area because I'm not satisfied with the shape of the vase. It's not mirror made, so I'm trying to cover this part with leaves. And also we need some green accents. In the painting, so let's add them here and there. The shape of the leaves shouldn't be perfect. Just brush strokes are enough. And actually, you need darker value to make it 3D. Now it's wet and dry, which means your brush is wet, loaded with water, and the paper is dry. This part is wet and wet. I'm just adding more color to this part to make whole painting as a unit. The consistency of the color that I'm using for background is now it's kind of tea, which means more water, less color. Add a little indigo to some part of the painting to exaggerate the depth. And also accent the waterline by adding a lot of this dark color. And sometimes you can wash some part of it out. The shape of the vase could be more visible if you add a little dark value inside the vase. Some lines and dots around will help the movement in your painting. Even for background, you can have negative painting. I just lift up a little dark color. Squint your eyes and look if you need add more, darker color to some part of your flowers. And I'm glazing some part of the flower to make depth. So the color that I'm using here is kind of indigo plus cobalt blue, but very, very thin, which means more water and less color. I'm trying to define some part of this flower, but not exaggerating it. Shaping the petals and also fade the color into the background. For circulating colors and dark parts of the flower painting, I just add a little darker value in this part. Again, the color is a mixing of indigo and cobalt blue, and also Hooker's green plus burnt umber. Just wash them out. Burnt sienna plus olive green is a dark mixture for this part. And also add some alizarin crimson. Few touches here and there. Just add few shapes like leaves and some lines and dots again. They help to have movement in painting, and also it helps to connect each part of your painting as a unique composition. I'm just tilting the paper to have access to that part of painting. You can always go back and add more dark color to your painting, but avoid overdo it. Yeah, let's shape the waves a little bit. I want to make it more round by adding color inside and out, but not too much. Okay, done. Some scratches with fingernail. According to Rembrandt, a work is finished when the artist has realized his intentions. Few touches. There you go. It's done. I'm pretty happy with it.